Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much, Sister Maria, for having us here. I'm very happy to be around, my esteemed colleagues who just spoke before me. I'm kind of disappointed. So we have a quick 10 minutes, and you could actually Facebook if you actually need me to slow down, because when I was talking to Maria and I noticed her series of questions and knowing who was going to speak before me, I asked her if I could still kind of focus more on the higher ages, but then give those baby steps to get people not just curious and interested about homeschooling, but what are your next steps once you must homeschool. So very briefly, I started, I believe, when my daughter was born in 2000. SubhanAllah, the number one reason, which is surprising to many people, is that my husband and I chose to do this out of convenience. Now, when we were married and pregnant with our first, we knew actually we were going to do homeschooling. And so when my daughter got her tetanus shot at 2 months, we basically went cross-country for a few months and crossed to Mexico, crossed to Canada a couple of times. I went back to work. I took 4 months off work. I went back to work and my heart was no longer at work. Now, interesting when you say I was actually the first Muslim in my family, so there was resistance there. So being the first homeschool family, you could assume resistance. And I just knew how to do that with tact and poise. And it didn't actually ever bother me. So as for all the previous advice of, don't let other people bother you, stay focused on your path and know what your end point is. And so when we did that, subhanAllah, mashallah, 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 my girls, my thing is my oldest just turned 11. If you ask them today, our number one complaint from my husband and I, day in and day out, is you play too much. You play too much. SubhanAllah. But the playing actually helps. So unlike actually, I say I'm eclectic, which uses 2 or more or many, many resources for our curriculum. So in terms of reading, SubhanAllah, all we did was write, type, and we actually would read. I would read to them when I was pregnant with my first, all the time. I would read the Quran when I was pregnant. So when my daughter, subhanAllah, and I did this with my sister when she was pregnant, when my daughters were born, they heard the Quran, subhanAllah, they loved the Quran for the sake of Allah and for Him alone. SubhanAllah. So, you can start a pregnancy. But then the other thing was, subhanAllah, because I just played with them, my mother taught us, you start off with circle and lines, and a circle and line makes a circle and line makes a lollipop. Well, make that line into a dot, you got a letter I. Make a line a little bit longer, that becomes a big I. Put 2 lines together, that becomes an L, an O, and there's an O. So, subhanAllah, all of my girls actually were writing at the age of 2, and they were all readers at 3. So when my first one turned 3, she was reading at 3. My second one was 2 at the time, so she was writing at 2. No one ever questioned, like, okay, I guess they're doing okay. SubhanAllah, what happened with our youngest is we realized that we wanted them to both have Arabic and English as their primary language. We didn't want Arabic as their second language. Our second one was actually born overseas in Gaza, alhamdulillah, and so they had that basis. What we did for our third one, we moved back. We were already here in America. We knew that we needed to implement immediately that she is reading right to left for English and left to right for Arabic, and writing it the same way. SubhanAllah, just to let you know, even though they're early readers and writers, my daughter, the youngest one, subhanAllah, was the earliest for everything. And the funny thing is, she actually did not speak until after 2. So, I can't stress it enough. SubhanAllah, I know you could hear me in the excitement in my voice. My husband and I are very, passionate people. We are extremely high achievers, both in our academic and professional life. So I will say, please do not compare yourself to anyone. Do not compare yourself to any other one's curriculum. My first advice is to know. And I want you to know, yay, actually American Muslim Mom, the blog actually just became a blog network. Today we just launched the Homeschool channel. So if you actually go to American Muslim Mom, and on the top navigation bar you'll say Homeschool channel. And what I actually did was, in preparation, knowing that 10-15 minutes wasn't clearly enough time to answer, there was actually like 2 dozen questions, you could go to the website and I answer a series of her questions. So first and foremost, these steps, it says critical homeschool baby steps to consider. They do not have to be step 1, 2, 3, 4. It just made it look nice. But when you are ready here in the United States to consider homeschooling legally, you must know your legal rights and obligations. And so we always follow the Homeschool League Defense Association. They have been the legal advocacy group in the country since 1983, and they always have a 1 to 2 page PDF for every single state. My recommendation is we've always, and I've told every single homeschool I've ever known, was to recommend minimum reporting. So in Ohio, when my daughter was 4, we actually had to report by her 5th birthday. You have to know that, so you can't just jump in. But in Connecticut, it was optional to report, so I opted not to report. And the other thing is really critical is, as Muslims, people think that because I write so heavily of being a devout Muslim and raising my girls, subhanAllah, I put links so you can see kind of what my professional background is. I don't want to get into that. But my husband and I knew we wanted, first and foremost, to homeschool for our lifestyle. We knew we were traveling the world travelers. We knew we wanted to expose our girls to hands-on learning. Second to that, we knew education was going to be my primary job. And my primary job, because we're entrusted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is our obligation to give our children the best possible education, not just, Islam and Quran and Arabic. It is incumbent, based on the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that we must give them the very best of math, the very best of English. And because I was born and raised in Connecticut, the highest, every teacher and administrator is the highest paid in the country is in Connecticut. My sister is actually a superintendent, the highest paid superintendent for her line in the entire country. Connecticut, we were exposed to private schools that kids are paying $42,000 a year. And we're talking about middle school, high school. So we knew that we were going to give not just equal to that, for a fraction, pennies to the dollar. We knew that we could give our girls individualized, personalized, multiple intelligences, and do that based on their personality, based on their interests, and based on their desires. So I want to draw your attention to knowing that, and I've done this research, it started this blog series back in 2008 calling Creating the Most Ideal Islamic Education System. And I have it on that post. I started it, and subhanAllah, yesterday I actually wrote Defining Intellectual Vitality and Intellectual Curiosity. Intellectual vitality means the life, the energy, the passion of loving to be intellectual. And based on the Sunnah, our kids are entrusted, we are entrusted as their educators to give them that life. And that's why, as Jamila was saying, her daughter wants photography. She's giving her the resources. Not only as homeschoolers could we give them the resources that they strive for, love, and interest, it will make them better mu'min, which are true believers, but then it will make them better in all of their subjects. Why? Because if you let her do the artistic side, I know Jamila is working on the mathematics of the photography and the science of picture development. This is where, homeschooling is so critical. And this is what Ivy League schools and first-tier top 50 university is looking for. I wrote it extensively, and I find it really critical. Interesting is we did a whole thing. I mean, we know the 200 years of public schools here in America has failed our children, and it's going to fail our economy if we don't move forward. And then the Islamic schools, and I could say this wholeheartedly because I actually was a part of bringing up an Islamic academy, K through 6. There is detailed research of major failures in Islamic schools. Sadly to say, and subhanAllah, I'm actually still on the board with all the principals of the 200 schools. They all know me. Many of them know me personally. And they can't agree or disagree with me because the facts are facts. So we have a critical role here as Muslims. But I want to draw your attention to, so one, we have this. The most ideal education system is homeschooling based on the Sunnah that was given by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But in addition to that, we have a great obligation, and we have to know this. As Muslim wives and mothers, there are 3 things written directed to us in the Quran and then the Sunnah. Our roles, first and foremost, is to be the wife, the homemaker, to take care of the home. Second is to be a mother. We must obviously give them the food, provide them with the clothes, and the third one is we must educate them. So you are educating them from birth. We have to educate them for deen, for passion of Islam, but then for passion of their education. Because the third one is we are responsible for the money management, but then our kids, second to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worshiping Him and Him alone, the kids must follow the sunnah. Third, they have to obey their mother and father. And then their only job until they get married in their lives is their obtaining of ilm, knowledge. And who is the best of people to give them that ilm? Who is the best to give them that knowledge? It's the ones who love them the most. The mother, the father, the extended family. Of course, we use our extended family. They do like Jamila. They're in dozens of co-ops. They are in dozens. They have private tutors for this and that. We do projects. But this ilm, if you make sure, based on the sunnah, show them the Quran, show them the 4 ayats in the Quran that says that kids must gain knowledge, they will do this. They will excel for the sake of Allah and for His pleasure and for His pleasure alone. And then for, to reach into Jannah, and then it's okay if your kids want to please the parents, if we are all doing something halal. And so when you're looking at my list, I want you to share there. And if you want to get into some detail, subhanAllah, I've actually had sheikhs actually write about my book. This is Balancing Life as a Muslim Mom, and it breaks down being a mom in those 3 areas that I told you based on the Quran Sunnah, but it speaks specifically how homeschooling is the best way to give education. Next, you need to look at your family skills, your skill sets, find the most appropriate curriculum. Like I said, for me, I mean, it was natural. I mean, yes, Bob books are great. It was for us. It helped. But I actually just read on our bed for hours on hours and hours. As for math, because my degree is in biology and I was in health, my husband is a biomedical engineer. Many of my family members are engineering. Math and science is extremely easy for them, and they take it very lightly. So I knew I had to build on their writing, and I had to build on their reading. And subhanAllah, that's where the blog came, and subhanAllah, in 6 months, that's their online business. They've been making money since January, and it's just a great experience. There's too many good things about that. The links are there that I don't want to get into. But as for not comparing yourself, this is my only tip, is survey what other people are doing and adapt them for your lifestyle, for your strengths, for you and your husband's resources. I will tell you, I said I'm homeschooling because we could travel the world, and I mean, we had our friends, a couple, husband and wife, save money to go to Italy for 6 years, spent $10,000 or $12,000 for 10 days. SubhanAllah, my family of 5 went to 9 countries for 5 weeks. We didn't spend 1/4 of that money. Why? Because homeschoolers, we could travel whenever we want. We don't have to do high seasons of what do you call it, holiday seasons. So we have a great advantage. Ask my girls, when school got in September, we're like, yay, all the free libraries opened up, and we don't have to wait. We don't have to go. Museums are closed, are quiet during the week. So we enjoy when school is in. And then don't limit yourself to school designations. It is possible, subhanAllah, to go from elementary school, once you give them the basic reading and math, and I say, it's all intuitive, osmosis, whatever you want to call it. But like, mashallah, my girls are, what are you, 8, 10, 11 years old. The oldest 2 are actually doing calculus. If they missed algebra, trigonometry, or geometry, subhanAllah, they go back and they figure it out. But you know what? They know it more in depth. They can have a detailed conversation because they did it for themselves. I give them the resources, I give them the motivation, and they do it themselves. Don't limit yourself and say, oh, I have to do Algebra 1. It never made sense. Algebra 1 in freshman year, geometry, and then Algebra 2 junior year? No, get algebra out of the way. I taught them algebra in like a month. Literally, I took an algebra book, a high school algebra book, and we went from cover to cover in like a month. Don't limit yourself to school designations. It's not working for the general public, so don't follow that. And then the last one is, know that our deen, our practice of Islam demands excellence, and therefore it encourages excellence. So if you do that, Go to trusted resources, trusted people. And when you go to the Homeschool channel, I welcome any and all of you. If you blog and if you don't blog, please. This is going to be different than American Muslimah, the main page, where I'm going to have open guest bloggers. And you're going to see something critically different that you don't see anywhere else. It says, I break it down from birth to 6. There are critical things based on the Quran that we must do for children in their education, their life, their deen. Then 7 to 10 is very critical. But you know what? I write college prep. You know, the beauty of homeschooling is you could skip middle and high school, and those are the most pressurable years of the life, and it's the most detrimental years of any child's life socially, emotionally, and actually they show physically now with all the bullying. So if you could go that, and you have to remember, in Islam, we have duties to our kids at 7 to 10. And then the next phase in our life after 10 years old is adulthood, which is at puberty. And remember, here in America now, 2011, the average age a child gets a menses, a girl gets a menses, that's 11 years old, with many, many, many girls at 8, 9, and 10. So, you know, they are, and we need to prepare them for that adulthood mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and then in their education. And there's so many wonderful sources that shows, subhanAllah, that so many, I mean, I wrote it all in there. Harvard, Stanford, everyone is looking for homeschoolers because they have this passion, they have this drive, they can have this depth of knowledge that you can't have anywhere else. So find out, don't say my girl is good at math. Like I say my girl is good at math, but I make them, when they do their art, I make them do the math within the art, but I make them, because writing in English may be not strong, I make them write a story, creative story of how they reflected. So use your identify your kids' strengths, but use that for them to excel in all of their subjects. It is possible. I'm looking now, and I think I have 1 last minute, and so I will tell you, please look on that. I welcome any of you to apply. We also have, subhanAllah, I lost the email, but during Ramadan, a sister said, Ponn, please make an ultimate list of homeschool Muslim bloggers. So I made this list that you could see, and you could apply and do that as well. And just to let you know, just like my Eid gift guide, I review every single website because the number one thing I feel impassioned by Muslim homeschooling, I've been speaking about this. I'm primarily been speaking and been writing for books that are non-Muslim based because of the successes, business as well as academic successes of my girls. One, we are a new breed. You know, this is like the first generations, either immigrants or reverts like me who embrace Islam. And there is a lot of misinformation on the internet. So go to trusted resources. Go to trusted scholars. And then, you know, always say, is this going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Am I following the sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Will my girls obey me, my sons and daughters obey me, and will they succeed in life to reach Jannah, inshallah ta'ala? So I hope you gathered all that, but if not, you could go to the website. All the links are there. And jazakallahu khairan for this time. I'm excited to be here, and I'm open to questions.
Assalamu alaikum. We got one a compliment from Sister Jamila from Virginia. She says, Sister Ponn, you're an amazing inspiration, and I love the passion you have for what you do. I'm sure your children have so much confidence as a result of that, mashallah. My question is, how do you instill that self-confidence in your children if you don't fully feel it for yourself?
Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Let me tell you, it's funny. The very first Muslim family that I helped become Muslim, the number one thing that she found in her oldest daughter, which it was the year before she was probably like 8 or 9. I don't remember. How old was Shadia? Anyways, mashallah. But she was outgoing, and she's just like, I just need her to be around you because I want her to be social, and I want her to do homeschooling the way you do with your kids. And subhanAllah, my daughter, my oldest was only 4 at that time. Her complaint was, you know, I'm not social. Like I'm an introvert. You know, I kind of am a homebody, and it's funny. So I said, you know what? Come here. And I called her daughter, and I talked to them. I said, you know, and I did that same kind of thing, which I do with everyone. You know, what's the reason why we're Muslim? Like, what's our number one goal as Muslims? You know, Allah, you know, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second, okay, what way? What is the straight path? Of course, that's following the sunnah of the Rasul. What do you have to do day in and day out? And they said, obey and respect your parents. Do you love, obey, respect mama? Of course I do. It's like, what are mama's strengths? SubhanAllah, the daughter said strengths. She thought her mom was the most incredibly self-confident person in the world. She thought her mom was, SubhanAllah, taking full time, finishing up her bachelor's full time at night because she wanted to be home for them to homeschool. Her daughter, and I was just like, and it was an eye-opener for the mother. She was just like, my mama, she supports me because, I love drawing, and look at what she did with me in the garage. They brought me into the garage, SubhanAllah. I remember the murals and what they did. It was raining in the middle of winter, and so they couldn't do sidewalk art. So her mother, she's just like, how many moms do that? My mom is that cool. And so my advice is, first, do that. Get a trusted sister or someone in the community to kind of like prep that. And you'd be very, very amazed at what your kids actually see in you. But I will share another side. Another one of my friends, mashallah, her children, mashallah, they call me Khalto, which is auntie, and this is my very, very best friend. Her boys have, trust and respect me. Like, I could discipline these boys more than her, and she knows it. So even to this day, she's like, call Upon, and, she'll put you straight. But, it's funny. I did the same thing with them. And they were older, and the older son actually was very open, and he just like, okay, Mom, this happened, and I think you could have handled it better. And he was, SubhanAllah, we were in Hamden at that time, so he's probably 8, and we're doing this over the phone. And it was funny because she was just on the line, and I was like mediating, but SubhanAllah, do you know, after that conversation, my girlfriend said, SubhanAllah, Ponn, thank you so much. All I did was listen, but we never actually had that conversation. But everything he said was from his heart. And you know what? Even if I wasn't confident in those areas, I'm working on it, and we're working on it together. This is the beauty of homeschooling. This is the depth of feeling and passion that we must have out of respect for your parents. And with that, base it on love. Believe me, you base this on a love for Allah, for the Rasul, for your parents. The kids will succeed. They will have confidence far beyond, and they will have full confidence in you if you are open to those open, honest conversations that many, many married parents don't do today.